Hello friends, this is Chandrakant from Akul Mac Technologies. Welcome to Top Brass. And as you know, my friends, that I'm reading a book written by my friend, Mr. Naval Gunn. The book is titled, Can You Handle the Truth? And so before we start talking more about the book, let me welcome Naval Gunn from UK. Naval, welcome to Top Brass.
Good morning, CK. It's a little cold here today in the UK, I'm afraid. The sun's going in and the thunderstorms are around, but hey ho, that's our British summer. So you have to handle the truth. So it always rains in the UK, doesn't it? Is that true?
It is true, but I think if you talk to an Indian like me, I go out when it rains, I stroll or maybe do biking. I love the rains. So it may be a different situation for you, but we all love rains here.
No, I love the rain. The rain makes the plants grow. So we need the rain.
So Naval, I have been reading your book, as you know, and the title of the book is Can You Handle the Truth? And I've reached to a point where, you talk about feedback. And it is also important when you're taking a decision. So all leaders or all coaches or CXOs, they have to take decisions almost every day. And these decisions drive their companies forward. However, the feedback mechanism is very poor because CXOs usually think that they know all and they do, whatever they do is always correct. So I think today I would like to know your inputs on how we can get the feedback on the decisions that we have taken. So that's really my question.
Feedback is a really, really important and most interesting subject because there's two parts of feedback. That is giving it and receiving it. And the interesting thing is we're having a conversation here and we're giving each other feedback. It's a chat, it's a conversation. No one's being put at risk. We're just trying to unfold an issue. And in many respects, that's what CXOs around the world have to do. They have to solve a problem. But we don't solve a problem in isolation, in our ivory tower, at the top of the ivory tower, looking out and seeing beautiful blue sky. We do it in the context of our team. And this is where I think the problem starts. We don't know how to communicate to our team. We don't know how to take feedback. More importantly, we don't know how to give it because we haven't, correct me if I'm wrong, did you do a subject at school called feedback?
Of course, we have not done anything like that. It's the life feedback that that we have. Not really.
But the interesting thing is, of course, when you did your homework, you were giving feedback to your teacher. You were giving feedback to yourself as you put it on the paper that you actually understood what had been said and you were listening and you were answering the question. So you were actually solving a problem in a very simplistic type of way. So although we weren't taught feedback as a subject, we were doing it all the time. But let me ask you now, when you put your heart and soul into a piece of work and you thought, that's the best I've ever done, and your teacher gives you the homework mark, and in red in the top right-hand corner, it said C-. How did that make you feel?
Couple of things. I'm telling you realistically what I felt. One, the subject is very hard. That is point number one. Number two, this teacher doesn't like me. So deliberately she is...
Now let's focus on number two, all right? Because we all think immediately, bad feedback means you don't like me. So you've just, thank you, by the way, for mentioning it, because you've just said what everyone feels. You know, feedback, if you get bad feedback, it's a feeling. It attacks you. And then it's a question of how do I defend it? How do I take it? So as I say, feedback is really probably more about how you're feeling when it's given to you. Because if you don't understand how it feels to you when you get really good feedback or bad feedback, then how do you know how someone else is going to feel? And it's absolutely critical. And we talk here about good feedback and bad feedback. As far as I'm concerned, there's no difference. It's just feedback. If you don't like me, but you're telling me something really good, if I'm smart, I'm going to listen. So feedback really is how well do we listen? I mean, I always look at, I always give the analogy of you get the musician, you know, tuning up on the stage, and they plug in their big amp and they do the first riff, and you get this huge feedback, and it's not what you really want. You know, that's really hurtful to the ears. No one wants that type of feedback. We want to hear beautiful music all the time. But the thing is, you know, if I start to shout at you, are you going to listen? Simply, will you listen if I shout at you?
Yeah, I think a couple of times.
Yeah, but we know each other, okay? And we don't shout, by the way, everybody. We do have a heated conversation from time to time. But the point is, are we really good at listening to what other people is? And this is where I think the C-suite actually are too divorced from the organisation. We hear about leaders and managers walk the talk or talk the walk. In other words, they're connected with the organisation. They're not just connected, they're listening to the organisation. They're getting feedback from the organisation. And at the end of the day, really, feedback is just a conversation. If you can, there are really some really good ways of giving great feedback. And one of the first ways that I found, and I only found out this about 15 years ago from my colleagues in MindFit, is when you're giving feedback, ask the other person how they would like to hear it. Now, big smile on your face there, you know, because my goodness, you know, that is almost like a eureka moment. You know, if I'm going to give you feedback, CK, how would you like me to give it to you? When would you like to hear it? In what setting can we be? You know, all of a sudden, you now are important. But guess what? I'm giving you feedback, so you better be important. You better be ready for it, you know? And we laugh about these things, but yeah, wow, we never think about that. We say, come in here, shut the door, I've got something to tell you. Is that a really good way of giving feedback?
So I think, Neville, what you're saying is very, very critical, because whatever feedback which is going, it has to get in and it has to be registered with the person who has asked for it. The problem that I see around me is, especially with the CXO fraternity, is that they think they know all, and they decide without even attempting to take a feedback. So that is why when people say, hey, the decision has gone wrong, it's because we have not taken feedback. So I think I'm trying to address this question from the other way around, where the CXOs are shying away from taking feedback on their decisions.
You're absolutely right, and this is the problem. What we need to do, I mean, we all sit in a restaurant. Well, we don't sit in a restaurant at the moment because they're all closed, but when we sit in a restaurant, we're given a feedback form. Did you like the service? Was the food up to standard? Was it value for money? We even get it on apps. You know, your feedback is really important to us. So we hear this word everywhere. You know, when a customer is coming back to you and giving you their honest feedback, my answer to that is you better start listening, because that customer's gone out of their way to tell you something. Now, it may not be good, but equally, it may not be bad. But the point is, does it matter what it is? Because it's their opinion. And if you believe that customers count, you need to take into account all of their opinions. It doesn't mean to say you're going to agree with them, but you're taking their opinion. We all do surveys online. I'm sure a lot of these CXOs do surveys. They commit to surveys. They create surveys. But who's listening to the survey? And sometimes the outliers of these surveys are the most important ones to look at, because, well, we got all the answers we thought here, you know, the typical bell curve. This is what everyone's been saying. Yeah, we know all that. But what about these? What about these outliers over here? Have they got something to say? What about these ones over here? And this is where, when you start to look at the project and you take the personal impact away from this and treat it in the third party, then it makes life a lot easier, because they're not being critical about you. You may hear it as them being critical about you, but the reality of life is, divorce the personality from what's being said, and then you can handle it. So can you handle the truth in feedback terms is be resilient, you know, be competent, you know, be comfortable in what you're doing. And then when someone says, I don't think that's right, you can then say, oh, what makes you say that? Ask the question, you know. Don't just say, well, you know, you're entitled to your opinion, you know, and that's what a CXO will typically say, you know, well, I think it's brilliant, you know, because they've never really asked anybody else, because they're fearful of what the person's going to say, probably. But like anything else, in this world of communication is king, content is king, cash is king, don't we really want to be able to communicate with our customers, with our supply chain, with our team, with our network? And how we do that is we raise our awareness of what they're saying and we get feedback from them. It's critical, absolutely critical to business success, to find out what people are saying and feeling about what you're doing. It's as simple as that. I mean, we can make this really complicated, if you like, but frankly, we need to be simple, because fear is a simple disease, and getting over that fear is actually to become more resilient in what you do, more confident in what you do, and recognizing you're not perfect. You're not going to get it right all the time. You may never get it right, but that doesn't mean to say you're not doing your best to get it right. And that's where the personal endeavor gets a little too close to what's going on. You need to stand away and just take that helicopter view. Does that make sense?
I think you cannot talk more or advise more the importance of feedback in our life. I think you have spoken very nicely, and you have written very nicely what CXOs can do to get the feedback from the customers and from their employees and peers. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are a business coach, CXO, or a leader, this is a book for you. You can write to us and we can send you a free copy. Neville, it was a pleasure talking to you. And as always, we will meet up again on Monday.
Have a nice weekend, CK. Enjoy the weekend, everybody. And remember what CK said there. We're not charging for this book, you know. So can you handle that truth?
Yes, the whole idea is to help people. They can read and the book and get some ideas. If they want to reach out to Neville, they can reach out to us. We can help them. So the whole idea is to help the society, and that is why the book is free. Uh, it is written by very senior people. Neville is a co-author, and there is another gentleman who's also very senior, recognized in the industry. So, folks, ladies and gentlemen, leaders, business coaches, write to us. We will give you a free copy. And see you next time, Neville. Have a nice
See you
week.
next time. Enjoy your weekend.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.